Today, the Guyana Chronicle visited the newly appointed Minister of Agriculture, who gave us a briefing of his plans to take agriculture forward and open the sugar estates. Good afternoon, Minister. How are you?
Good afternoon and thank you. I am okay, quite well, hectic, very hectic today.
Okay, so we're going to start by talking a little bit about the sugar industry. We would have known over the past few months during the campaign season, as well as in the PPPC's manifesto, you would have talked a lot about revisiting the sugar industry and reopening. So, Minister, what is your vision for the sugar industry in Guyana?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to say that the PPP Civic, we are committed to all the promises that we have made in our manifesto. And many persons are looking forward for the reopening of those sugar estates that were closed. As you rightly said, we have committed in our manifesto that we will reopen those sugar estates. I want to say that already we are starting to do some work in that area. When we had the swearing-in ceremony, I was interviewed by the press, and I said that we have to do a conditional survey to know what really exists there. Now, many people were saying that survey, why we have to do a conditional survey? We can't go to the factories and say that start up the factories, because remember the factory were closed. I understood that Gaisuko and the government cannibalize and the factories move out parts from the factories. We have to study what is there, see what has to be done, and also we have to look at the field. We have to look at the infrastructure in the field and things like that, so that we can get those things in order back again. We also have to look at the labor force that exists presently. So those are some of the things which will happen very shortly, and which will start, and those things will not take long. But as I said, we are committed to the promises. We are committed to revive the sugar industry and reopening those estates that were closed. We might have encountered difficulties at Wales Estate, because we know for a fact that they have dismantled all the factories, the parts in the factory there. But Rose Hall, Skeldon, and more, those factories will be easier to reopen. As a matter of fact, Skeldon also have value added, because we have the cogen facility at Skeldon, where the cogen alone could upkeep that estate. So it's very feasible, and I want to say that very shortly, that is the #1 priority on the PPP Civic list, to reopen these closed sugar estates.
Okay, so far from your assessments, what have you made so far, and what will be your plans going forward now?
Good. I'm glad you asked me that question, and Guyanese should know this. Gaisuko, as it stands now, Gaisuko does not have any asset. All Gaisuko assets were taken over by NISIL. NISIL is the owner of those assets. So first of all, we have to establish the ownership of the assets. Gaisuko will have to get back ownership of those assets. We have to look at the financial implication also, because you know for a fact that NISIL would have taken a loan of $30 billion to revive the sugar industry in the name of Gaisuko, that Gaisuko will utilize these funds to rehab the sugar industry. To date, Gaisuko is claiming that they only received $10.2 billion. Gaisuko is in serious financial crisis. As a matter of fact, the previous administration did not do anything, any help they did not give to Gaisuko. That was the reason they closed the 4 sugar estates. And my view is that they wanted to do away with sugar in the long term. So Guyanese must be optimistic, and we are very optimistic in the PPP Civic that this sugar estate will be reopened. So we will have to look at the asset, we will have to look at the liability also, we will have to look at NISIL, what role NISIL has been playing. I had a meeting with Gaisuko. They informed me that they don't know how the $30 billion loan is being disbursed. They are asking questions. They are not receiving answers. As a matter of fact, I can say Gaisuko is being mismanaged, because senior officials from Gaisuko are not in the country for the last 5 months, and they are still receiving salaries. They are directing the show from overseas. This is not a remote control operation we're running. Gaisuko is an operation you have to be on the ground. You have to ensure sugar, when you is in the business of producing sugar, you have to be on the ground, look at your infrastructure, look at other things that are needed there. So Gaisuko has been neglected over the years. It was neglected by the previous administration or the former administration that got recently get out of power, and I think that the management of Gaisuko needs to be improved.
Okay. Also, can you give a timeline and a scale as to how and when will the reopening begin?
Well, as I said, a timeline depends on these issues I just spoke about. Like, for example, the conditional survey, which would not last very long. But the most important part of it is that we have to determine Gaisuko's, first of all, determine the asset. Gaisuko, the asset will have to go back to Gaisuko, right? Guys, we have to look at the financial records. Where is the $30 billion? Gaisuko will have to repay those funds. We have to also look at the treasury, the financial implication in the treasury. So I am very optimistic. I can't give you a timeline, but that is the number one, as I said. That is right up on the priority list of the PPP Civic to reopen the closed sugar estate. As a matter of fact, we have started work already. Last Saturday, when we had the inauguration of the president reiterated that sugar will be revived in our country. Those economy in the estate area that were closed, when you go there, people are displaced. There is no job in those areas, and not only direct employment or the direct people who are employed in the sugar industry are affected. You have the indirect forms of people, like the shopkeeper, the seamstress, the taxi driver, the indirect. So all those things need to be revived. The industry, where the villages or the areas where these industries are, the economy near will revive. As a matter of fact, I am seeing that the people in Rosal and the Rosal Kanji, they are now calling that they are willing, they are awaiting the reopening of the estate. So this is, as I said, I can't tell you next month or next week, but it is on the priority list of the PPP Civic government.
Okay, so with the reopening of the sugar estates, how many workers are expected to get their jobs back?
Well, when you look at the closure of the 4 estates, I think more than 7,500 sugar workers lost their jobs, right? Yeah. If we are talking about immediately reopen Farm 3 sugar estate, then you will have more than 5,000 sugar workers will get back jobs. They'll be able to earn again for their family. So over 5,000 people immediately will receive jobs. Then you get the indirect employment, as I said, about people who depend on the sugar industry for survival. When sugar is out of season, many businesses are in serious financial problems. But when sugar is going and the sugar workers are earning, many businesses are receiving benefits through where the sugar workers normally go and shop, spend their wages and salaries.
Okay, so in the media you would have said that you would have described yourself as a field man, and we would have seen that you would have visited the farmers who were affected by the recent floods in the quarantine region. So with that being said, what are your plans to relate to the youths of Guyana, get them back into agriculture and farming?
Well, first of all, we have to set the infrastructure in place. We have to set the infrastructure. I have had meetings with stakeholders. I have had meetings with our officers, and immediately we have started to put things in place. We will have to do a lot of follow-up work and a lot of sensitization programs that will encourage people. We'll have to give incentive, and if you look in the PPP Civic Manifesto, those are some of the plans that we have, where we'll give incentive, where we'll reduce land rental, where we'll give farming equipments, where we'll give tools, farming seedling and things like that. So those will act as an encouragement for young people, because agriculture is very, very important. For food security in our country, we have to ensure that agriculture is on the right track. Because as the saying goes, agriculture or the agriculture sector is the bedrock or the backbone of an economy. So as long the agriculture sector is moving, the country will move in. And as long people see that the agriculture sector is moving and there are incentives there and there are money you can make there, then the young people will eventually gravitate towards that sector.
Okay. Also, the previous minister would have launched several programs, one of that being the Kitchen Garden Initiative, which was made to cater to the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you say, will you be revisiting that project? Will you be continuing it?
I am open to any project that can bring benefit to the Guyanese people. We should not say that because this is a project, we must just embrace it like that. We have to see what kind of benefits people are getting from these projects. As you said that there was a kitchen garden project that was started by the previous minister. If that project is benefiting people, then of course I will continue with it. Right? Of course I will continue, but I'll have to do a review of it to see what benefit people are getting from these projects. If not, we'll have to improve it. We have to improve it to make it better so that people can get benefit. The PBP civic government is centered around people. People must benefit. That we must make the lives of people better. That's the whole objective of this PBP civic government. That is philosophy, to improve the lives of people within this country. That is why that every time you have a PBP civic government, people's lives start to improve. You see the optimism start. Since His Excellency Dr. Irfan Ali sworn in, since last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, you see the new breed, a new air start to blow in this country. You see the kind of activity, you can see the kind of optimism, the upbeatness amongst the population in our country.
Okay, so lastly, how does the ministry plan to work with the Guyana School of Agriculture as it relates to agri-processing and having more local products on the shelves of our supermarkets?
Well, I have met with the agency heads, and that is a task I asked them that we'll have to come up with those ideas and plans. We'll ensure that we enhance the performance of these institutions. As a matter of fact, the Guyana shop will have to promote these products coming out of those of our country, and also ensure that we put more local product on the shelves in our country, because we are importing a lot of food stuff where we could produce or which we are producing in our country. You understand? So if we can promote those and people can buy into it, then we'll have less. The import bill will get less, right? And that will be benefit for our country, because the local producer will get market for the produce, and less foreign exchange will use to purchase those products.
Okay, Minister, before we close, is there anything you'd like to share with the public?
Well, I want to say that, as you rightly said, that I am a field person. I want to inform the Guyanese population that I am here to serve the people of Guyana. I am here to ensure that we improve the sector, the agriculture sector, and I want to form a partnership with the people of our country so that we can improve agriculture, we can diversify our economy, we can have food security, and everyone should come on board so that we can develop our country to another level.